Hey guys, it's me, Mark the Landlocked Surfer, and I'm back after a little bit of a hiatus. I needed a bit of time to recharge the batteries over the holiday season, but here I am back with a video, excited to get started in 2022 with the first video of the season. And today we're going to be covering a review of the SwellTech Austin Keen SurfSkate. SwellTech boards have a reputation in two different ways. The first is that they're extremely difficult to get the hang of. If you are just starting out at surf skating, they have a reputation of being not a good choice as a beginner surf skate. But they also have a reputation, once you get the hang of riding them, as being the closest simulation to actually surfing in terms of the way that you have to get the motion of your body working to ride them. This board is quite different from a lot of the surf skates that I use. It's 33 inches in length, which sounds long, but because of the tail pad, it feels a little bit shorter. It's also quite narrow at 8 inches in width. So it felt small to me, and it is actually recommended for a rider who's a bit shorter than my height. They recommend up to 5'10". I'm around 6 foot. And so it's interesting in that respect. It's also flat as a board. The only kind of feel that you get from this board is because they've got that stomp pad on the rear, so you can use that kind of like a kicktail to get some spring from the back, but otherwise it's completely flat. So no concave whatsoever, quite narrow. It's a really different feeling deck than I'm used to. My favorite way to ride this board was riding it barefoot. I felt I had a lot better control, and the stomp pad made it really comfortable in that respect. So that was something I appreciated with the design. The trucks that they use for the SurfSkate features on the SwellTech boards are so different from anything else that I've tried. If I tried to explain to you how the technology works, it would be a 25-minute video, so I'm going to spare that, but I'll put some images up on the screen. It just feels different from anything else I've tried. It doesn't feel like the swing arms of the Smooth Star or the Yow or the Waterborne. It doesn't feel like the reverse kingpin style of the Carver CX. It's just something completely different. And one unique attribute of this is that you can completely spin it 360 around. Now let me tell you that doing this was something that I tried to do as part of my testing, and it was way harder than it looks in the videos of the pros doing it, but it is indeed possible and something unique about it. The trucks give an extremely surfy feel, but if you are used to riding another type of surf skate, it's going to take some adjustment into your style of riding to get used to these. Now I did find that once I did adapt to it, they felt the most like surfing of any of the boards that I've used. And I've used a lot of different surf skates. The motion that you have to use with your body, you cannot rely on any kind of wiggle pumping to ride this board. It all has to be coming from your upper body to drive the propulsion of this board, which is so unique. And once you get it, it feels like surfing. I was just a big smile on my face once I finally started to get it and started getting some carves in, because it reminded me of being out on the ocean. Now at the same time, it means that the trucks are really squirrely. Like, it does feel like you're in water. I've had some really bad wipeouts that unfortunately I didn't capture on film as a result of the trucks starting to turn completely 90 degrees and resulting in a head over heels wipeout. But the trucks are just really different, and I think if you're an advanced surf skater, something that you do need to try. The stock wheels that come with the SwellTech board are pretty effective. Like, they're the kind of wheel that you don't really notice, which is a good thing on a surf skate. So they grip well for carving, and when you put force onto them, you can make them slide. They're quite large. They're 70 millimeters, and they're 78A durometer, but they worked well for what we needed them for. Moving into performance, I think it's important to talk about what separates the SwellTech from other surf skates. So the SwellTech system has this 360 degree rotation, which is almost like a ripstick or a caster board. And that happens independent of the way that the board is leaning. So as a result, you can't get this board moving just by wiggling it back and forth. On the SwellTech, the rotation to create the torque that you need to move the board comes from your body. Just tilting the board with your ankles isn't going to cause any rotation. It's not going to get the board moving. And this is what gives it two reputational factors that the SwellTech boards have. So first off, the SwellTech being the most difficult system to ride. You sort of need to relearn how to ride even if you've had lots of experience on other surf skates. And once you get it, that ripstick-like rotation still feels perilously scary. There are moments when it feels unpredictable, like there are marbles underneath your board. This board rides incredibly smooth in bowls, but I still ride cautiously because I can't shake that feeling that the wheels might just twist to 90 degrees and buck me off the way they did at the pump track that one time. So without a doubt, this is the board that I look most like a beginner with when I'm in the skate park. I haven't been able to transfer my skateboarding skills to using the SwellTech. But that brings us to the second reputation, that this is the surfiest feeling board. You can't wiggle pump a surfboard. You can't kick push a surfboard. Once I kicked off my shoes and started to figure out how to ride the SwellTech, I could almost imagine that I was in Hawaii riding a perfect green wave. It feels liquid the way the board rotates from side to side. So even though this board might make me look like I don't know what I'm doing, the feeling of riding it is incredible. My favorite use for this board is going into somewhere crowded where you need to have lots of agility. The board is so nimble, it turns on a dime. So if you're in somewhere crowded or somewhere where you have really narrow spaces to work with, the SwellTech is excellent in that scenario. So if you're looking for a board for unconventional use the way that you're used to seeing me ride, for things like ollies, for 180s, for grinds, for flip tricks, the SwellTech's not going to be your best choice. I, of course, tried to do that on this board. It was not easy. So this is not the ideal board for that kind of stuff, but it does do other things really well, like carving and flowing in the bowl. It's going to take a lot more practice before I'm proficient with that. And there are some issues in terms of the kingpin that sticks out on the trucks that I think would deter me from trying to do grinds on high coping with this board. I did experiment with trying to get a grind in on different ledges to see how that would work, and it didn't work exceptionally well. But for just using, traditional surf skate use, the SwellTech was incredibly impressive. So at the end of the day, what were my thoughts on the SwellTech Surfskate? It was certainly a humbling experience. As someone who fancies himself as being pretty, advanced level surf skater, this definitely set me back a few notches and made me have to relearn some of the basics. And I think it was helpful to my surf skating overall to get on the SwellTech and work on my upper body rotation to help my pumping and carving. It's, I think, a really valuable purchase for anyone who's looking for a surf skate that's going to help them with their surfing, because to me, as I said, this is the board that felt most like surfing when I was riding it. It definitely is not going to be something that's going to benefit someone who's a skateboarder who's looking to do more skate type tricks, but I think for a surf skater or someone who's looking for surf training, the SwellTech really is useful. It's going to take a little bit of work to get up to speed to be able to use this effectively, but once you get there, it's just a great feeling. And this is a board that I borrowed from Steve from SurfSkate Love, and I ended up buying it from him because it was something that I enjoyed using so much. He had purchased another SwellTech board, so I'm keeping this one, and I'm going to keep practicing with it to see if I can get better, to get up to the standards of some of the SwellTech riders who can do things that are just mind-blowing to me. So anyway, it's a board that I had a lot of fun with and that I think is a worthwhile purchase, especially if you're in the intermediate or advanced level surf skater. Thanks for watching, guys.